again, my dear friend Ray.
Hello, Anja. It's a pleasure to be here for our accessing the higher realms today.
Exactly. So, for all of you who have not seen the first part, I'm going to give a short overview. And first of all, I would like to introduce my friend Dr. Raymond Keller here for all of you who have not seen him yet, listened to him yet, or have not read his books. They are here behind me in the shelf. And then we will jump right into the second part of this special podcast, the special discussion on accessing higher realms. This is going to be accessing higher realms part 2, and part 1 I will link in the video description and in this YouTube video as well, so that you can watch the first part whenever you wish. So first of all, for all of you who don't know Ray, Dr. Raymond Keller is also known as Cosmic Ray, and he is the historian of the Venusians. He's a contactee, a UFO researcher, an author, and a retired doctor of history. Ray has been involved in active UFO research since 1967. He has made numerous field trips to UFO hotspots around the world and has communicated directly with extraterrestrials on many occasions. Numerous articles and, to date, 7 books on Venus and its connection to Earth are among his publications. Ray's Venus Rising book series explores numerous facets of Venus. Well documented and based on personal research and years of experience, decades of experience, one could better say, Ray's books reveal amazing connections from the perspective of history, mythology, theosophy, space exploration, ufology, contactees, Venusians, spirituality, and current events. Ray lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, in the United States. And an additional note from my own experience, I, Anja, can say that reading Ray's books can have an amazing effect on expanding one's consciousness in a multidimensional way. His knowledge touches not only the intellectual mind, which is definitely challenged due to the high linguistic level of his works, but also, and that's most important for our ascension, for accessing higher realms and conscious expansion of our consciousness, the heart. And in the video description, you will also see a link to my website, venusspirit.com. And of course, Dr. Raymond Keller there has his own place among some other light activists and some other important people I'm in touch with, that I support and that I really admire and appreciate. And among them is also Omnec Onec, the woman from Venus. So that's Ray. And you will now get to know him better while we are going into this discussion on accessing higher realms. So thank you, Ray, for being here with me. And now
Thank you.
it's your turn.
It's always a pleasure, and this is such an important topic. You know, since Adam and Eve, all of humankind has had the divine essence, and as we progress through history to a higher plateau of a cosmic evolution, and keeping this in mind, that divine essence will allow us, when we tap into it, to access these higher realms and higher dimensions?
Yeah, the higher realms or the higher dimensions are actually, of course, within us. That's something important to say. It's a state of consciousness. We are traveling through the dimensions of consciousness. So the higher realms are states of knowing and of being and of, yeah. So accessing them means making a shift in one's consciousness. It's not a physical journey to some special place or some special time.
Well, it can, yes. It's essentially stepping into ourselves when you say to step into the light, because we all individually are the light. We are the light. And this is not too well understood. The ancient Greeks understood it at the at Delphi, where the oracle was. It said over the temple, it said to know thyself. To know thyself was the most important thing that we could do when we're on the earth, because that's the key. That's the key to entering other worlds, higher levels of consciousness. So when we were last talking about this subject, you had the diagram and explaining what some of these levels were and situating ourselves upon them.
All right, I'm going to share this diagram now again. You're seeing it?
Oh yes, it's up there now. Mm-hmm.
It's up there now. So for all of those of you who have not seen our first part and who have not seen this illustration yet, I would like to give a summary, because this is where we started last time and that we discussed. This illustration is a concept. It shows a concept of the God worlds. And the God worlds are the levels of dimension, all the higher realms and the intermediate realms and the lower realms. And when we are talking about realms, we are talking about the frequency, the vibrational rate. So when we look at the center of this diagram, of this illustration, we see what we would call the source of creation, or God, or supreme deity, or what do you have other terms for that? Of course, we have to use our terminology to give the nameless names.
Oh yes. Well, the ancients in the ancient world, the time of when the Greeks and then the Romans were around the first say the 4th century BC up until about the 3rd century AD. They understood these realms of light to be the pleroma, was the word for it. And you go through an ascension of consciousness, you go from the grosser, denser material worlds into the worlds of light. That your soul can rise through these various levels.
Yes, exactly. So we could also begin with explaining or discussing this illustration from the outer edge, of course, if we want it. So this is the outer edge. This green circle here, the outer green circle, stands for the physical realm, which is the realm that we at the moment are living in and that we are most familiar with in a way. And that what we want to, or have the chance to, I don't know which word is it. It's not overcoming. It's more, it's a journey. So this illustration shows the journey of soul. So when we look at this circle here, for example, with the rays, it shows the birth of the soul. It's like the soul is being emanated or born from the source of creation. The soul is a part. It's the same essence. In the essence, it's the same like the source of creation. Yet it is also an individual spark of God. And this individual spark of God starts its journey through the levels of dimension, through the levels of density, or through the levels of consciousness. And we discussed these levels last in the first part, a couple of weeks ago. So just in keywords, we are traveling here through the etheric, the mental dimension, the causal dimension, the astral dimension, and finally we arrive in the physical dimension. And now, since we are here at the moment in the physical dimension, since our planet and the whole humanity on Earth is going through a big transformational process, we have now a wonderful chance to become aware, to become more aware to a higher degree, and to a more in a way that it probably has not been available to us, to an extent that has not been available to us in the last thousands of years. We have now the opportunity, through sharing this information through the internet and books and videos and teachers and lectures and all the work that we are doing together, we have a way bigger chance to get access to this information so that we can apply it and realize the truth of who we truly are. And this gives us the chance to integrate all the experiences, find peace, love within it, and truth, know ourselves, as you just said, right? Remember who we truly are, and return to the higher realms. And this is why we are here today. We want to find out more about what higher realms are and how to access them, and what is the use of discussing this topic at all for our daily lives, especially now, since we are all in this period of transition with lots of turbulences and difficulties and challenges that we are facing to an extent that is, of course, tremendous, probably for every human being at the moment on this planet.
Yes, that's very, very well stated, Anja. One of the different ways that Helena Blavatsky looked at it, she was the co-founder of the Theosophical Society along with Colonel Olcott back in the 1880s. She looked at the Bible account in Genesis as an allegorical one. And when Adam and Eve had to leave the realms of light, it was depicted more or less in the context of in the Bible of Adam and Eve being given coats of skin and expelled from Eden, or the paradisical world, expelled from Eden, where a cherubim with a flaming sword was placed to guard the entrance, and the tree of the the tree of life, and the so this is allegorical of by that I mean that it's indicative of a higher truth. The coat of skins is being given a physical body rather than a body of light, and having to live in the material world. So if we become too involved in the material world and too caught up in it, and we lose sight of the higher objective of the higher realms of light, and therefore we bog ourselves down into it. So raising of one's consciousness, knowing of oneself, and stepping into the light of truth that's inside each, or the flame of truth, as Mary Magdalene wrote, that's inside each of us, is the way to ascend and open the door to these other realms. In fact, one of the things that I think I should read it from Mary Magdalene's own words in our book, because she talks about that. She explains that Jesus himself had traveled through India and learned many great truths. And she said that there were 4 powers that one needed to access to be able to enter into the realms of light. And I'm going to see if I can read it, if I can find it in here. And let's see. There's also a lot about Peter in these sections as well. Oh, here's one thing that she said. No one can possibly turn their heart to God fully without discovering the flame of truth that dwells within them. That is the flame that contains all power, truth, and love that will heal the blindness of their mind. So in other words, we live in a world of Maya and a world of illusion, and accessing that flame of truth is one way to overcome it. The flame of truth contains all that is required to cleanse and purify any individual, directing their life to a path of peace, power, and fulfillment, thereby bringing about their redemption while securing a place for them in the celestial realms of the Father of Lights. So this was knowledge in the 1st century AD that Mary understood from the teachings of the Savior, Jesus the Christ. And I wanted to find that part about the 4 powers here. And well, here's an interesting part too. It says, the master replied, Mary inquired of Jesus, Lord, does the one who sees a vision while yet in this world view it through their physical or spiritual eyes? And the master replied, in this world, a vision is beheld through neither the physical nor spiritual eyes, but rather through the mind's eye. The vision is but a living projection of light emanating from a spiritual reality. So this is where the light comes from. Your mind holds the key to bridging the physical and spiritual planes of existence. Thoughts are emanations from the spiritual realms that can be transformed into realities in the material world by the power of the mind. These include all nature's formations and creatures, great and small. These are the aeons, the emanations of the Father of lights, the firstborn in the creation of the cosmos. Those awakened to the truth understand that we all have a part in it, that we are all dependent upon one another, and that our destinies are linked through the eternities.
Mm.
So we're all part of this greater picture. And we live our lives so caught up in the day-to-day worries and considerations that we lose track of it. We're not keeping our eye on the ball, and we're just getting lost. We're just getting lost in the grosser material world. So this is the way to overcome it. Oh, here it is. When the master lived in India, before he began his ministry among the house of Israel, he learned many great spiritual truths among the sages of that far country. From the knowledge passed on to Jesus from his teachers there, he told me, Mary Magdalene, that is, that there are 4 powers working to assist the seeker of enlightenment that must be mastered while one is still living in the material world. So this is very important about accessing the other worlds, the higher worlds of light. And Jesus said, the first power is becoming acquainted with grief and suffering. Grief and suffering come from unfulfilled expectations in the material world. By keeping our desires fixated on the kingdom and righteousness of the Father, we shall be satisfied and grateful for all that we have, and great will be our eternal award. I think it says in the Bible, in the King James Version, in Matthew maybe 10:33, it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, the righteousness of God, and all these other things shall be added unto you. So we here on earth are looking at it in the wrong perspective.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ray, that so many people, I don't know the number and I don't know the percentage, but even the ones who are in religions don't know how to do that. So many people have been going to the church for thousands and thousands of years, maybe, but many of them are misled in a direction of keeping their power given to outside sources. So the thing is, with the light and with what you just shared, the kingdom of heaven is within us, right? And we have to find the keys, and usually the keys are really only available in these hidden secret Gnostic teachings, and not on the surface, and not where it's not the loudest or the biggest preachers or the most well-known books or whatever, not in the TV and not in.
Oh yes. And I don't know about in Germany about what the situation is with religions and so forth, but over here in the United States, you have all these prosperity preachers, and they talk about, like the gospel is money, money, money. And this is the exact opposite of what Jesus taught.
And the question is really that maybe many people might ask, or that I would ask, if I haven't found, I for myself found the key to how to access this inner kingdom and the realms. I can't say that I'm totally stable in it yet, and that I have, I'm not holy. When I'm holy, I'm probably not here anymore. I'm still a normal human being, but I think I found pretty much already, and I'm very blessed. So, but I think when I'm observing and when I'm listening to you, the question is really, shouldn't we, I don't know how to really hand these keys to the people, so that people really, that the human beings really know how to access this inner higher realm?
Well, let's go on and see what the other powers that Jesus taught to Mary Magdalene, what they are. He said the second power is putting an end to grief and suffering. Once aware of our grief and suffering, one must learn to praise and give thanks to the Father continually, whereby light and love will be generated out through you. It's not so much what you get, but what you give. So this is the thing there in helping others. And as you learn to generate light, the darkness will be banished from you, and you yourself will be filled with the light of truth and comprehend all things. This is not accomplished by any outward demonstrating, but by learning to hearken unto the Holy Ghost, that still small voice of truth, and in following the divine instructions and fulfilling the celestial terms as delivered unto you. What that means is that realizing why we're here on earth and following through on it. Then only is it possible to actually know the one eternal God and to enjoy life eternal in the Father's kingdom. The third power is becoming aware of our delusions of anger and attachment. These are based in an ignorance of the fact that everything in this material world is passing away. See, all things, I study theosophy. You learn that that all things have shape and form in the material world, but in the worlds of light, this is not true. This is pure energy and pure thought. These are pure emanations of love and light. And it's only in the material world that things die, that all things must die and all things must come to an end. For there will be a time when all these things of this world will pass away. And he said, these are based on ignorance of the fact that everything in this material world is passing away, and that each soul in this world begins to die from the very day they are born. Once one abandons their demands upon others and their desires for the things of the world, they are on the path that leads to gaining their celestial crown. And so we develop attachments. We develop attachments to people, to things.
To the body.
These are all things that are going to pass away. And this is the very essence of Gnostic teaching, is the dichotomy between the spirit and the body. And this is just a spacesuit that we have to live in this planet, in this atmosphere and these planetary conditions. So when we go leave this body, we don't need this spacesuit anymore, and we can just cast it aside, because we're going to a higher realm, a realm of light, or a higher world where they'll give us a different body. And the fourth power is finding and following the path of accurate knowledge, the knowledge that leads to eternal life. Very few have attained the realization that love is the greatest of all elements, for it is a non-material substance. In other words, it has no form or shape. The only remnant of the first or spiritual creation. Love is also a boundless energy and almighty power that manifests in all newly created life forms. Those that abide in love are already on the paths that lead to the unseen worlds of light. So when I look at Omnec's diagram, I see that's what she's talking about. It's love. That's the key to going from the lowest to the highest.
I'm sharing it now again because it is it's so beautifully said, the way it's written, what you just shared. And Omnec just always really made it very, very clear that God here, the center, the white circle, this is God and this is love. It's all the same. It's just different words for the same source of energy. And in her teachings, she always said that everything that exists, all creation, all these lower realms of density, everything is made of love. And it's because God loved itself so much that it created out of itself everything that exists out of itself in never-ending cycles. This makes sure that the source of creation, which is pure love, will never ever cease to exist. It exists forever through its creations. And every creation, a soul is a creation of God, of the essence. And so the soul has the same creative quality within itself, since it is the same. It is love. It is God.
Yes.
So when it starts its journey through these dimensions, right? Like here illustrated through this by this spiral, shall explain the journey of the soul through the levels of dimensions down to the physical, where it, as you now said, it's the shell or the spacesuit, the physical spacesuit, and then the soul travels slowly back to its origin. And this is a journey of billions or trillions, whatever years, because there is no time in the other dimensions. Time is a man-made concept so that we can get along here with each other, and the calendar and everything. And so it's not really real. It's time is an illusion, and that's real. That time is an illusion is real, right?
Yes, exactly. And well, I have to say that one of the writers that I greatly admire is Rudolf Steiner, because he, as a philosopher, merged Eastern and Western thought, and said that that in the Western way of thinking, there is a bridge in Christianity between the two cultures of East and West, because the Apostle John wrote that God is love. I think that might be the shortest, maybe the second shortest verse in the Bible. God is love. I think the first one was Jesus wept.
And now,
I
we
would
have
too,
the key.
I would too, being trapped in the material world. Got nothing to do but feel sorry for everybody here. but yeah, God is love. And that's the answer to getting out of the trap of being stuck in this dimension. Yes, we're here to learn, and we're here to grow and expand our knowledge so that we could be of service to humankind and to the peoples of worlds without end that we'll go on to. But love has always existed, and it always will, and it will overcome everything and anything.
Well, of course, the mean thing now, or I mean, mean is again not the right word, but I'm just saying it, mean, or the challenge or the obstacle, maybe obstacle for many people on this planet is now even the word God, because so many religions use the word God differently than we are not now talking about God. So when we are talking about God, we are talking about exactly Omnec's teaching and your teaching and what you know from the Venusians. We are talking about God as the source of creation, as the pure love source of creation that created everything that exists, the way I just explained it. So now, but in the last thousands, or since the downfall, I would call it like that, the downfall of consciousness on Earth, we have this separation thinking. So people are born into a world of the belief of separation, that we are separated from God. And then we have these religions. And some or many religions, I mean, first of all, not all of them use the word God. Some call it differently, or they don't have a God at all. As far as I know, in Buddhism, for example, they are not having a God, or they have multiple gods in Hinduism, right? Or they have Allah in most Islam, and we in the Christian world have the term God. But all of these terms are not really the God that we are now talking about. They are misleading many believers and keeping them trapped in a false, illusionary belief system. So now what I wanted to say with mean is, the mean thing is that we first have to overcome this belief. So if you now say to somebody, God is love, and this person is stuck to a specific belief system when it comes to the term God, he's already in separation again, because he cannot follow you. He says, well, I don't believe in God. God doesn't exist. And I don't believe in either in no God, or I believe in a different God. And then you go directly into the arguments. And so you can just say, okay, I love you anyway, and go your way, right? Because when we are giving true information, what we are doing here, from my perspective, for me, it's truth. We are not on a missionary path. We are not forcing nobody to believe in what we know and what we feel is right. We just share, and I feel this is why we are here, right? We are here to share what we feel is true, because the truth, when it is realized, can set you free. It can make it frees your soul from the false identifications, or the mind. The soul is not identified, the soul is free, but the mind is identified with false belief systems and identifications. So it's a big process, and this is what Omnec always said, my God, what a big process to bring truth to these people on the world who have been stuck in the wrong belief systems, in these illusionary false identifications and belief systems for thousands of years. How to reach them? This is a big project.
Yes, this is a project of supreme importance. Annalise Guerin was my mentor, Clayton Parker's teacher. Clayton was a friend of Annalise Guerin, but she wrote 9 books about these spiritual subjects. And one of them was titled, Ye Are Gods. And what she meant by that is, and as she explained, is that we're all created in the image and likeness of God, in the spiritual image. And so being created of eternal substance, being imbued with love of the Creator, we are love, in essence, the same essence as what God is. So overcoming the ego, annihilating the ego, is what the Buddhists say. You attain a state of nirvana. and you enter in a world with without without form or shape, because it's spiritual. It's all spiritual. It's all light. And the people in the world largely don't understand that concept. They think it's nothingness, but really it's everything, because it's it's God. It's being part of God. Um, it's the eternal substance of love and light that you are part of, and therefore you can be anything at any time, or anybody. Stephen Campbell said, God has 1,000 faces. So many of the people and beings that you encounter throughout the earth life and into the infinities on other planets, worlds without end, you have teachers or avatars that are the God essence, that are, coming to this world to help us, like Annalise Guerin, like Omnec. So this is this is the whole thing. When I was a student at the Graceland University Seminary in Independence, Missouri, I got into a disagreement with them because they were talking about the Trinity, and I said, well, why stop there?
Explain that, please.
I was thinking of Annalise Guerin and what she said about about being made of God stuff, and everybody being part of it, and just not realizing, being caught in the grossness of the material world, that they don't realize who they really are and why why they're here. And I wrote a paper there, and that professor gave me an F on it. But I published it in the Fourth Venus book.
But what does it have to do with the term Trinity? Did you say
Oh,
Trinity?
yeah. I mean, they were talking about the Trinity, the Christian concept.
Yeah.
That God is in these three divine personages, that they're in one God. So I said, well, why stop with three?
Okay.
The divine spark, the flame of truth, the Holy Ghost, it's in all of us. Love and light, it's in all of us.
Okay, now I get it. You mean that they were trying to convey this false belief that this is not in all of us, but that it is somewhere else, or
Yeah, that it's just limited to these three. But all of, as you said in the beginning of the podcast, that all of creation, all of creation is an emanation of a thought. It's a thought emanation from the creator.
would
And
you call it thought? I'm not sure if I would call it thought.
well, as the Bible says, before anything was, um, God said, um, let there be fishes in the sea, to
Mm-hmm.
swarm, multiply. Let there be
Mm-hmm.
man on the earth. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, in other words, it was a thought first, and
Okay.
then the matter and energy, which are eternal substances,
Mm-hmm.
coalesced at the thought of God, and when He spoke it into existence
Hmm.
to make it a reality.
You know what? I was a little stumbling over the term thought because I just thought that the thought is so limited and so much limiting. But when we I mean, we could call it the divine thought in contrast to the regular human way of thinking, because this is one could really talk about this aspect in a sense of becoming aware how creative divine thoughts are. I mean, in other words, when we say God created existence, created creation, and everything that exists by a thought, like throwing it out of itself, right? I now think I'm God, and now I'm thinking soul. Okay, now I have soul created because I think soul, for example. I mean, of course, this is ridiculous. I have to use words to try.
Yes. Well, I see what you're saying is that you think you must have the concept first, and then you call it into existence.
Exactly. And you know what? Now this is so important that we are coming to that thought or to that point in our discussion right now, because humans on Earth have lost their contact to their conscious, creative thought process in a way that they know, that they are aware of this divine creative power that is within them, because of this separation concept. So when I really think I'm separate from God, and I believe I'm just a physical self that is running through a certain lifespan and then falling into the grave and rot into, and the worms come. When I really believe, and I have to make my money, and I have to believe this and that and the other, or go to, you know what I mean? When I'm really stuck in this material world of thinking, not being aware of the thought that is my divine essence of creative power, then I'm a victim, and I'm stuck in this mode of being a victim. I'm not aware that I'm the creator. So what we are probably, or not probably, what we are definitely going through at the moment on Earth is returning, remembering that we are the creators, and that we are, by our thought process, creating our world and our future, and that we can even have access in a way through our imaginative powers and creative powers to change our past. I can travel to any point in my life or in history, wherever I want, and change this experience. When I know that I have the creative power within me, I can change everything. And I can also create a future that is so much different than the presence that the world is at the moment collectively still living in. And this is coming to the point of when you remember who you truly are, when you know that you have the divine thought, creative power of thinking, then we can change our destiny, we can change our lives, we can create what we are truly within ourselves, and really find the true expression of what we really are as individual beings.
Yes, this grosser material world is a matrix. And the way to step out of it and be the captain of your own ship, so to say, is to access that spiritual essence within you, as you had said.
And that's the key. That's the key, Ray, because when you said God is love, I would add at this point, at this moment, when I really want to step into this knowing that I am a part of this creative power, I can say I am.
Yes.
I am God. And this is not referring to the ego mind or to the egoic mind. it is referred to the source within me. Because when I acknowledge that this spark of God, of divinity, of soul, that I'm soul, that this is my true identity, and when I then use the terms I am, because it's in the Bible that I am is the creative power. The words I am means I am identified with what comes after the words I am. When I say I am God, I am identifying with the divine spark, with the divine soul essence within me.
Yes, this is true. And whatever you whatever you predicate that with, I am, then that's what you are.
And that's what you create. When you
Yes,
say I am,
it's an awesome power because the whole matrix falls away and the universe coalesces to make that happen.
that's the key. That's the key to accessing higher realms, to really, really understand this in the deepest core of my being, to really believe this. I mean, believing is not knowing from my perspective, but believing is better than rejecting. So when I start believing this, I can start making this an habit. I can make an effort to really observe, what am I telling myself the whole time? Am I telling myself the whole time, oh, I'm ill, I'm sick, I'm a victim, I'm so poor, I'm whatever, or I have no idea what I'm thinking at all, then I'm totally unaware of, I'm just going with where the world and the matrix is pushing me through, and I'm just going
Yes,
totally unaware.
if we maintain ourselves in the darkness and grossness of this world, we'll never be able to see the light and step up into it. We'll be trapped in there unnecessarily because we do have that power to access it, to go within and to know ourselves and know who we are. And as Helena Blavatsky said in the Theosophical Society, begin to access all the powers that are latent within us. And of course, there's no limitations to love.
Mm.
The power of love, the power of God, and the world would like us to think that we're limited in what we can do and what we can think by controlling what we think and try to control what we can do. But that's the importance of this whole program here today of accessing the higher self. And I sure hope that we haven't gone over their heads.
Well, whoever listens to us and stays with us until the last moment or so, they know that there is something in them for them, and if it's just for the ether, and it drops down in some souls, even without them listening to us, somehow it is still in the field. We are still emanating this knowledge and this truth and this love. And when it comes to, you just mentioned love, and maybe this is something that I would like to close our conversation today, because as I just said, the word God is compromised, or it is misused by certain belief systems, and so some people don't like the word God anymore and step out of the discussion when you're talking about God, because they don't want to follow. Okay, maybe next life then. Okay, that's fine, right? Or maybe whenever. And when it comes to the word love, it's just the same, because even also the word love is so conditioned, and so probably almost, except for a handful, a very small percentage, probably.
Yeah, we've so layered it. We've so layered the term as to encase it in an almost unreachable form, like in a very hard eggshell, and trying to get to it takes a lot of energy that maybe some people don't think they have, or it's worth the effort to make it. But they put their own limitations on love and the power of love,
Yeah.
power of God, and
Yeah.
much to their own detriment.
So a good starting point is to say, I am love. Then I'm identifying myself with that essence of divine, of being. Maybe I don't feel it right away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It takes time. Sometimes manifestation and realization needs repetition, especially in the physical, because in the physical we have everything is not instantaneously right here, especially not an understanding or a realization. But when you repeat it over and over again, but not in a mode like artificially or without believing it, or I mean, like I was stumbling all of a sudden through a situation where there was a what how's the word, in a church there was a church thing going on, and there was a lights, and I was walking into the church and listening and wanted to see what they are sharing there, and it was so boring because it was just repetitive and not alive. And so I had, after 5 minutes, I thought, okay, it's enough, it's too boring for me. So what I say when I try to become aware of this I am love, I have to really try to feel it, or to start believing it, start to knowing it. And then maybe after some weeks or some months or whenever, it is possible that something happens.
Oh yes, and well, the diagram that Omnec made is very pertinent because our oversoul simultaneously exists in all of those levels, but we won't be able to access those unless we live and act and have our every breath in love and light. Then we're unified with our oversoul, or unified with God, and we can go anywhere in space or time or any other dimension.
And our oversoul then will orchestrate everything in our life so that we can be guided to make the appropriate and matching and resonating experiences, so that
Yes,
they become a knowing, so that we have an experience and then we think, wow, that's right,
because
that was love.
I know this is true because um, anytime I've wanted to go somewhere or do something, I just think it, and then every day I just focus on it. What am I doing today to make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's uh, living in Africa and exploring different countries there, or learning learning new things in new places, or it 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 all comes. It just magically happens because I put my I put my heart, mind, and soul into the light, and it just takes over, self-generating everything else that I need to make it happen.
My friend, I would say that we leave it for today like that.
Yes, I'll give everybody something to think about, and of course, I encourage them to read Omnec's books, um, read my books, check out also Helena Blavatsky, like her Isis Unveiled, and um, and check out the check out
Gospel
Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene, and available from the Venus Spirit, Discus Publishing. And thank you so much for your kind attention, everybody, during this program.
Exactly. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, all our friends. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Tschüss.
Tschüss.